find gold in this conversation,
no,
for
sure.
sure.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
3, 2, 1, action.
So, welcome to Van Talk. We have a new episode and I have an amazing guest and I'm so excited for you to meet this special man and my dear friend, Arun Thompson.
Hello.
Hello, Arun. I am so, very touched actually that you're here because it kind of is like such a journey. We already have been together and like sitting now together in a podcast studio. Like this is just shows kind of the long way we kind of already went in such a short time. But I would love for all the beautiful people out there who are listening now or watching this video that they get like a little impression of who you are, what you're doing, what is moving you, what is kind of also like what do you care about? What is the driven mission behind everything you're doing? Yeah.
Big question.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Just a small one for the beginning.
Let's see if I can summarize this. But yeah, thank you for having me on. And yeah, it feels really special to be here with you.
Yeah.
So my name's Arun Thompson. I am a men's coach and facilitator. And really what I'm inspired by doing is helping men to come back home to themselves, to become self-led so they can live a way of life that feels joyful, authentic, and meaningful, purposeful. So all of us have a true essence or an authenticity within us that's uninhibited when we're free from our insecurities and our self-doubts and our self-criticisms. And so I'm interested in who is that person that wants to emerge into the world. We always can sense that we're moving into another chapter into our life and that life is asking us to become something. So I'm really interested in helping men transition and be initiated into their next chapter of manhood, really. I think it was what it comes down to. So I'm just so interested in finding all the ways from top down and bottom up, working with the body, working with the mind, and working with also kind of more esoteric or shamanic practices as well to help guys just really feel like they are showing up fully for themselves and what really matters to them.
Yeah. When people ask me who you are, I really feel like the picture that sums it up quite well is kind of you are this kind of like a tree and people gather around it. I feel like there's a very nice picture. I feel when I think about you because you're really good and like bringing the space of people allowing themselves to rest and to really like to look within and also for people gather together. And I love that you especially do the work for men. I always would love to send kind of all the men in my life to you because it's so special, especially for men. I feel to have the spaces of like meeting themselves on a deeper level, to open up vulnerable and to share what is actually really going on. For a woman, that's quite often more natural that they have that in their circles. And for men, I think it's so time for this kind of spaces to meet, to have a real brotherhood, right? To be in each other's team. And so I have like so much admiration for the work you're doing and think it's so special and needed. So therefore, a big thank you for being that tree, and like inviting people in.
Yeah.
You're
welcome. It's funny actually because when I first started out, especially, I know that like I'd post about like a workshop or something I'm doing for men, and I typically it was about like 4 or 5 women message me and be like, "Thank you so much for doing this work," and it was really funny because there's no guys that were like saying that to me, and I just felt like, oh my God, women have suffered for so long because men refuse to go to therapy or feel afraid to open up, and so. This beautiful quote that I heard, which was, men would rather go to war than to therapy.
Wow.
And it really feels true.
It's
that,
true.
That we do so much to get away from ourselves and so much to perform. And really, when we get into a space of community where we are, sharing with open hearts or a one-to-one session, there's just this like, oh my God, I'm just trying so hard to prove myself and to wear this mask. And I feel really vulnerable and scared. And then there's that like healing of just saying it how it is, holding that part, and then, as you mentioned, you know, being in community where other people are saying the same thing, like, damn, me too. Like, yeah, I thought I was the only one. And that's, you know, where I think there's an aliveness for both of us right now, and even today, right? We had this beautiful moment just before this podcast where we checked in with each other and, how you doing? And actually, it's just turbulent today, you know, the shit's coming up.
Yeah.
And it happens for everyone. And it's like, yeah, there's this fears about it not working or not being good enough in my work or being able to create what I wanted to create. And then I think for all of us, there's some sort of sense of like our friends and everyone surpasses us and we kind of just left lonely and often broke or, you know, just a bit sad and not being able to achieve the dreams and desires that we have for ourselves.
Yeah. I think there's such a like big gold nugget already in it, like this part of really coming together and open up, very vulnerable to share that. And for me, I think there is like so much in it also to share it with a man, right? Like I'm very used to be very open and vulnerable with my women friends, and the part like that the women came to you and were like, thank you for doing this work. Of course, because it's like really quite often that the men in our lives that they come to us women, but they don't open up to others. That was my experience till now. And like you have to carry a lot, like in a relationship, for example, you have to carry a lot. And it's so beautiful because it needs a whole village, right? It needs a whole village to like have a thriving relationship as well, you know, like to not carry that one person has to carry it at all. So I think it's very, very beautiful. And also for opening up the spaces of having a language, a shared language. I think that's special, right? To be able to talk about certain things and to know what the other person means with that. And yeah, this morning was such a beautiful example of like, let's check in and then to be like, oh, yes, I feel you. And I have that as well. And how often is it that we see other person and we think, wow, this person is just thriving and everything goes well and super easy. And I am like struggling. And when we really put like the realness on the table, then like also this real moments of meeting each other can happen. And this is what makes me so excited. And I really think that this is life-changing, that this is really something that really is needed in this world, that we meet from this heart to heart, being to being, realness.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, have you got like a story that comes to mind that epitomizes that for you in terms of like being in community spaces, shared spaces? This has been such an important part of your process and what we're, you know, developing now, building on now. Is there something that comes to mind in terms of like how you've experienced that transformation or the power of it? Like what is it? What happens in spaces? Like, you know, if someone listening, you know, why is that so important? What is going on there?
Yeah. This is actually a beautiful question because, I mean, this is how we met, right? For everyone who maybe asked, like, how do they know each other? It's because you started like a community space here in Portugal, like a house for people who are working online in the wellness industry. And you created this house. And I remember I just wanted to come for 3 weeks. And I had this 3 weeks and I was like, wow, that's actually what I was missing, you know, to have people with like a similar mindset, a similar mission on this planet, like a same, like shared values, like a same, I don't know, like fire for things. And this was really the first time where I realized this is what I was missing the whole time. I had actually no idea till this moment because I was really still in this, okay, you get a partner, you move into the house with them, or you build your own house, you have your family, and that's it. Like I didn't even had in mind that like a community is what my heart was actually longing for. And this is something I could feel when we had like Tres Bandeiras, when we were living there with 8 other people. I mean, it was also very intense. Let's say, I mean, it was the whole, like the whole, how you say,
spectrum
of life. We had 8 people in this tiny tiny house, so it was intense, let's say, from a deep love, deep like suffering, like questioning yourself in every part of your being. And this was the first moment I realized, wow, this is actually so powerful, like really having this village, this community with people around me that see me, they go through things with me. And especially when you decide to move somewhere else, when you're not living in your hometown anymore, and you don't have your family around you, like it's so important to have the surrounding with people who are really in your team. And what we also shared like the last weekend, not just the fun moments, not just the celebrating moments, like also the moment when it really gets tough, right? Because life has to offer all the moments, right? Like the dark ones and the heavy ones, and to have people on your side in this moment is the deepest healing I can imagine. And like I experienced this also with you on my side when we were like being in Guatemala last year, kind of a similar setting but different, but like to go through these phases together and to know that you are held and that you are like loved with all the aspects you have, like not just the joyful, funny part. I feel like that's powerful. Yeah,
totally. And what comes to my mind as well, like it's something you just saying there about being on someone's team.
Yeah,
and that's the language that we learned in possibility management. I love it because it's about really caring, you know, for this person and their success being your success and their struggles being your struggles, and not in a codependent way, but in a way that's like, okay, I want to see this person thrive. I want to see them at their best. And I think for me, that's been one of the biggest things as well in being radically honest with somebody. The old Aaron was adamant that, you know, upsetting somebody is bad. Of course it's bad. You know, you don't upset somebody. And actually being upset is like, it is such a necessary and essential precursor to growth and to healing, because life's going to poke your shit, and it's better that it's your friend who loves you than it's, you know, some like one on the street or whatever it is. And that being on someone's team is really being like ruthlessly honest with them in such a compassionate way. And I think that for me has been one of the things that has been so enjoyable about shared spaces, about our friendship even, you know, really about saying it how it is and not kind of doing the nice thing, and then to feel somebody, you know, check in when I'm not doing so well and know, okay, he's got the thing going on, like, oh, he's got a workshop and how was it, and to care about the stuff that's happening in my life that makes me care about my stuff more and feel like, yeah, I'm supported and I'm witnessed in that. And I think that's something that we all long for, not only to have people on our team, but also to be on other people's team. And going back to the festival we just came back from at the weekend, I love what Florian said about going first, saying, I am your friend. I am your friend. And you don't have to be mine in the initial, but it's saying, I'm here for you. I care about you. I'm on your team. Do you need something? Do you want something? Because I'm here for it. And yeah, I think we're missing that in this like individualistic lifestyle that we find ourselves in with me and mine. And like you said, kind of the insular ways in which we're in our own apartments doing our own thing. We might meet up now and again, but it's not necessarily that we're like so integrated in life anymore.
Yeah, it's so true. It's really like very individual, and everyone feels like I have to figure it out by myself and have to do it by myself, and to really come back. And what Flo just shared was like really being the embodiment, what you want to see in your own life, right? Like you go first always, like you go first and the rest will follow. And there is so much truth behind this when you really start to be brave and to do that. And I have this one moment in my mind where we have been in Guatemala in a possibility management, the lab, and we had this exercise about like really saying the scary things, like say the things you feel so much fear to speak it out. And this is something you normally would never do. And I remember it so well, like when we were sitting in front of each other and to really say the scary things, you know, because especially when you have someone you really dearly, you know, like it's such a good friend and you want the best for him, but to really say like, okay, this is what I see and this is what I'm scared about. And wow, isn't it wild how much more depth our friendship gained, and like in every aspect, like with every human I'm doing this, like saying the scary things, it just really opens up and allows a door what kind of both anyway feel, because we are very, we feel things, we maybe don't know it by like already in our mind, but we can feel like the subtle little things, and to speak it out is so big. So I think like saying the scary things is a big part of being in someone's team, like to really say it and speak it out.
Totally.
Even your mind says, don't say that. Like
Totally.
never. Yeah.
Yeah. And being in a relationship with Bia now, like for just over 9 months, and she's so good at it. She says like the scariest stuff. And what it's done is brought up my stuff and then created this immense like depth of trust, of knowing that I know where she stands and knowing that she's going to say how she really feels, and not having to doubt that, and not having this low level anxiety. And also for me, the amount of resentment that I would build towards somebody, I would build, this has got nothing to do with them, because I wasn't able to really say it. And I would then distance myself, go a little bit quieter, not be able to communicate properly. And so then I would totally kill and suck the aliveness out of the intimacy. And then I like looking back at it now, looking at kind of modern relationships, no wonder there's like less sex. No wonder like people are just like, adultery rates are like super high, because of course if you've got all this stuff built up that you can't say to your partner, and you can't be real with yourself, and you don't feel like your soul, your vibrancy is going to find a way out. And that might look like, cheating, or having a wild night out, or, just wanting to go to India for 3 months and, sack it all off. It's just like, we have to find those places, and otherwise it comes out in weird ways. And so, yeah, putting the shit on the table and saying the things that make you afraid is a game changer.
For sure. Yeah, I love that you also bring that in, that it's such a important thing for a relationship, because especially there you don't want to like screw it up and say something that could hurt the other person, but in the end you hurt like your partner even more when you don't say it, right? So I think you and Bia, you're such a beautiful example for what it means to be really like authentically like pulling all the clothes, like this is me naked, my naked truth, and like let's go together with that, and what can like grow from this like very raw soil is beautiful. It's so beautiful to see the love between the two of you, because you see the trust. You can see that you trust each other, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't just say this because I want to hear that. No, it's like really true. It's coming from a true place. And I think this is quite often a very big problem in relationships, that you want to please the other person and you say like, yeah, it's okay, but actually no, it's not okay. And to have like these tools in your pocket to know how to really come on into a like authentic place of communication is priceless. Yeah,
totally. And what I'm feeling now in my body is like, like it's like, yeah, it creates trust, and it's it's amazing. And it's horrible. It's like, it's so messy. It's because all this stuff comes up, and to be like really radically open and candid. Like, to say that the scary thing, I can feel it here in my body. There's like a contraction like around the diaphragm area, which is usually where we hold fear. In my men's group that we had on Wednesday, we have an integrity check-in. So we lean into our bodies and notice, are we out of integrity with ourselves? So that's any commitments that we've made that we've broken with ourselves, any ways in which we're not honoring our boundaries or what we want. And then with the people in the group, so any men in the group that you have charge with, and then people in your broader community, it could be your partner, your friends, your colleagues. And then anything beyond that, it could be you're out of integrity with the earth. You're maybe not recycling, or you threw some litter, and it's just like not who you want to be. And what came up for me was, a year ago, I had a night of intimacy with somebody, and it was with somebody that a friend of mine had also been intimate with, and it felt out of integrity. And it's a year later now that I'm noticing that's not complete in me, and it feels horrible. It's like this contraction. It's like this knowing in the back of my mind of like, oh fuck, I have to make amends. I have to clean up my mess, and so. Yeah, it's going to require a conversation to say, hey, dude, like there's something that's getting in between me and you, and I want to give you the respect, and I want to honor our relationship because I don't want it to become between us, and I'm holding on to it. And would you be willing to hear the scary thing I have to say? And then being with what then shows up. You know, this person may be open to receiving and is like, okay, thank you so much, and can feel that, might be super like mad at you, and all of their stuff might come up, and then cleaning up the mess is like, yeah, it's valid how you feel, and I'm holding you, I'm here for that, and owning and honoring your own stuff and the ways that we mess up quite frequently as human beings. And then, yeah, doing what we can to really make amends and see if they need anything from that to reform the trust. So want to say that as like this isn't easy. It doesn't look nice.
To not make it romanticize it.
Yeah,
It's
right.
not going to Disneyland. Like,
It's not.
woo! Yeah, it's true. Thank you for bringing that up. Like the realness.
Yeah.
How did it end? Like, was it?
I have the conversation.
You will have. You didn't have that
No,
yet.
so
Okay.
that's part 2 of the
Yeah.
podcast. When we come
Stay
back together.
tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So it's just going to be a process of saying, okay, you know, here it is. This is what I did, and
Yeah.
I want to clean it, get clear.
Yeah, and this is something I love. Also, when I see your work, and also what I love in my work, like working with women, to really also hear this part of being in each other's team and say the uncomfortable things, right? Like, okay, there is something. I had a very similar situation on Saturday, like where I could feel between other women, like that there was a bit like a tension, and I could feel like there was fear that because of a man, and I was like, really, at one point I could feel it was building up, and we were saying all these beautiful things to each other. It was like, yes, and like, let's be honest, like I feel that there is some tension, and that there is I can feel fear in the field. Like, is this something you feel as well? And she was like, oh, thank you so much for speaking it up, right? And then we talked about it. It was so beautiful to be like, to just share openly and to be in each other's team and to talk about it. And there is so much healing happening, like women coming together as women, like sharing like what's going on in their lives, and what is my fear, what am I angry about, what brings me so much joy. And like the bonding between the women is getting so big, and like everyone is kind of finding their voice, their inner strength, their worth. And with this coming into the world, like meeting as women and men from this point of view is such a different way of meeting. And this is the beauty, I think, what you do, right? You create the same spaces for men coming together to share like the things who feel scary, like where there's anger, fear, joy. And like this excites me so much to see this movement of like men being in each other's team, women being in each other's team, but then also like, let's be together in one big team, right? It's not about man against woman, or like stupid man or stupid woman. No, like, not at all. But I feel like it's a very beautiful and important part of we coming together, like men and women who identify. I don't want to, not just men and woman, everyone who identifies as their gender, right? Like to make it very open. So what is the bigger picture you see behind that work you're doing? Like the work you're doing with the men, is there like a bigger vision? And if yes, what is it?
Yes. Yeah, so what there is, and it's really the vision of creating global community amongst men and women. Because there is definitely just, a massive uprising in people who want to live a certain way and want to relate with depth and want to know themselves on a deep level and to be living it into life's calling. And what we've spoken about, right, which is like, can we bring this together? Can we create a structure where people can come back to themselves and remind themselves of who they are and what matters in their life? And the bigger vision for me would be having just like pockets of communities around that come together to be of service to the group and support each other. And someone needs a website redesign. Well, great, one, or someone can do that for you and support each other in being on a team in that way. And then maybe there's like something else. I'd ideally love like a social impact as well, helping the people in the village in that kind of sense and being about for that, being available, because I feel like we're coming full circle of like, coming back to those smaller communities. So that's like definitely one big one. we've also spoken about having like a gathering together and you know, bringing the tribes together, men, women, and celebrating life and you know, doing these practices and initiations. So I think that's really like the big picture. You know, there's the little things as well, not so little, but retreat center one day would be amazing, a dark retreat center. But yeah, really, I think that for me, the main thing is community. I feel like that's what a lot of us are longing for nowadays.
Yeah. So like your fire is like this part of building communities. And do you, like, was this something that was always like naturally to you, or you feel like this is something you developed because of experiences where you were missing this kind of communities? Like where is your like your mission coming from? Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually surprisingly recent that I've really come to own this, but it's something that I've always just found myself doing. I've always loved being with people, and when I look back along my life, I've always been in either, you know, rugby teams or in university. Like there's a great sense of community there. In Brazil, in the retreat center that I worked at for 2.5 years, I was the like, I think it was like director of culture, which basically just means I was the people guy, you know, and it's always falling into that role. I created serendipitously the co-living community. And at the time, I was just like, yeah, well, that's just kind of what was obvious. Like I had this house that was available. I was renting out a room. It was going to be empty. So I was like, I may as well rent the house and then bring in the homies. And then like on reflection, like not everyone's doing that. And I was like, oh, like everywhere I go, there's this pattern in my life. And so, yeah, it's something that's really alive in me that just feels so natural. And again, my birthday being on Saturday just gone and people saying such beautiful things. And one of the biggest things is like the way you bring people together with joy and with love. And so, yeah, I'm really listening to what life is kind of saying back to me and to what life is asking of me. So it's always definitely been something that's really burning in my soul and that I've longed for. And I've always felt kind of a big hole in my soul when I haven't been in community. I felt a bit like disconnected. Like, what's the point? If I'm not with the village, if I'm not helping people out, if we're not together celebrating, then what's this all for? And one of the ways that I always start my one-to-one coaching is like, you know, you can be in your castle with all the things that you want, and you can be alone in your castle enjoying it all. How good's that going to feel? Or would you choose to be like in a ditch, you know, shoveling shit, but you're having fun taking the piss out of your best friend, and you're just like, you know, playing together? You'd be like, what? All that stuff I don't really care so much about. What I really want is to be with people that I love and who love me, and we're doing something that means something to us. And yeah, I feel like it's simple.
I love the part, like what you just shared, the part of it's simple, right? Like the like kind of the mission who's thriving you. It's naturally and simple for you. It's like following your joy, right? What feels so natural and alive for you. You don't have to push through it. You don't have to search for it. You just do what is naturally you. And this is why you're so genius about it without you even knowing. And I think there is a big beauty in it, like to really listening what the people sharing with us, what they see in us. I think this is such a beautiful also way of connecting, like to really mirror each other. What do I see in you? Because maybe I don't even see it. And like to also not just like, yeah, you just say that. No, like, okay, maybe there's a theme when people all the time telling me like, thank you for creating the spaces where people meet each other. Maybe there's something behind that. Like a mission can be so joyful and playful and naturally unfolding by just following what makes me feel alive.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is why people are drawn to it, because there is so much aliveness. There's so much playfulness. And I think this is something so important to come back to this playfulness,
yes.
to this like, yeah, let's have fun, right? I mean, we are here on this planet, such a beautiful planet. Like we can really have a good time here. Like, should we? Like, can we not like play a bit, right?
Yeah.
Right now. So, and I think there's so much healing behind that. It don't has to be so heavy. It don't has to be so serious. Like, and I love it. I actually had like such a wow moment when you were sharing, because I wasn't aware of that, what you just shared. And I realized like it was the same for me. Like I was always like in school, how you call it? The person, the person who is organizing everything, like Schulsprecherin.
Ah, yeah. The one who, like, the social organizer.
Exactly, like the one who's organizing
Social
all the
center.
events, the one like when someone has something going on for them, you're the trust person, they're coming to you, and you are kind of the voice for your class, right? And so this was always me, and I always organized like all the events, the parties, and so I feel like just by listening to you, true that like this is something I was doing always without thinking about making this as a career or seeing it as a big mission or whatever, but this is driving me so much, bringing people together and creating safe spaces for people to just be, right? So
Yeah, and this is it, like it's just coming together, following aliveness, like you said. And so, you know, if anyone's listening to this and thinking like, oh, I'd love to bring something to the world, or create something, or do something more meaningful, it really just starts with like, what do I love doing?
Yeah.
Taking a look back at, how have you always been, even, especially when you're younger, like it's so telling, like you're already doing those things. And I remember my mum would always laugh because when I was really young, I must have been about like 6 or 7, I'd like run back home and I'd be there with my mum and I'd be like, mum, like, can my friend come over for dinner? She's like, yeah, who's your friend? Like, oh, I met them today. She's like, okay, what's the name? Like, I don't know. Can they come over? And I was always just making friends. I just loved people. I loved making friends. And that was me. And so, it starts. It's like the clues. Like, okay, what have I always loved doing? Or what did I love doing that perhaps, like, didn't have a space or has died out? And then just one step at a time doing it, finding a space that you can bring it together. And I think one of the things that I learned from Boyd Varty, who spoke about community and finding the others, the people who feel that same resonance, is like, what is it you're gathering around? So if you do like as simple as like a dinner, okay, is it a dinner to go deep, or is it a dinner to have fun and connect, network, and having some sort of central point? In our case, probably, it's like, the growth and the heart, the coming back to ourselves, the healing, and then also being of service, showing up for the world. But is it like, okay, what's the thing that lights you up about the world, or what makes you angry, and then bringing just a little bit of that in the ways that you can. I think it's just the way that you can start to develop this and bring it more to life.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think it's so important to point this out, because I get quite often the question, like, how do I find this kind of people? Because like so many people miss that, right? To have found their tribe, their people. And it really starts within you, like to allow yourself to let go of everything you're actually not, right? To peel off that onion and to allow yourself to be the raw, real version of yourself, to shine your own light. Like, it's like you have your own uniqueness and your own light, and that your people can find you. You need to allow yourself to shine that light, right? So it's really about like, okay, I'm following these impulses. I don't need to understand it, but I'm following it, and I speak my truth, and I say the scary things, and I just allow myself to be that. And with this, the right people can find you. And I really found this like the Saturday so outstanding when I looked around and I saw all these beautiful people, and I saw like really this theme of like people who were traveling the whole world, right? People who are in service, who are doing really great things in this world, like helping others with coming back to themselves, and like this deep, like driven from the heart people. And then we are sitting in the middle of Portugal together, and like, how wild is it that we found each other, like people from all over the world, right? It's so multicultural, and I just love it so much. And like, I think one thing we all have in common is that we allowed ourselves to be radical ourselves, and to share and show up as ourselves. And this is how you find your people. And it all starts within you, and also embodying what I want to see in the world. If I want to have a caring, loving community around me, then maybe I'm allowed to start to be caring and loving, and to take care of others as well, right?
Yeah. 100%. And I feel like it's just the work that we do just boils down to like bringing more humanness to the world.
Yeah.
Right. And just like, we're simple creatures. What do we really want?
Yeah.
And it starts in those small moments of like, there's been a couple of like house parties I've been to where you'd just be in a kitchen with somebody and you'd be like, yeah, I'm not really loving the music. And they'd be like, oh, me neither. Or like someone wouldn't be drinking and you'd be like, oh, like nor am I. And then you'd have a kind of conversation. You'd find that one person that is on the same page, or, you know, you have an honest conversation like that and they're like, wow, you know, that's the kind of depth I'm looking for as well. And I really appreciate that and the open doors. So yeah.
Bringing more humanness in the world, I think that's so beautiful. And if I think about if I could make just one human more, feeling more like, okay, I'm not alone in this. Yeah. This is everything that matters to me, right? And therefore I get naked in the meaning of like saying the things that feel scary. And sometimes my logical mind is kicking in. It's like, didn't you share too much? Was it not like, was it professional enough? You know, this is something I have sometimes. Like, is it professional to say these things? And then I'm like, I think this is the most professional thing, because what is professional? I feel like this professional thing puts on a mask on us, and we don't feel the other persons anymore, because we all try to be professional. We try to have the things figured out. Like, but what happens when we take them off and to show, this is my heart right now? And I remember, and I had this moment, and it will be forever like a core memory for me, like when I went through a heavy time last year. Surprise, maybe you heard about it. And I went to this dinner. It was like a family dinner, and I was standing in front of the door, and I was crying so much because it was in a phase like after breakup, and I couldn't stop crying like for weeks. And I was standing there, and I could feel like it would be so good to be surrounded by people. And I still felt like, but I'm a mess. You know, how could I go in there and like be a completely mess with people I've never met? And there was this little voice who was like, no, let's go in there. Let's be the mess you are. And then we were sitting there, and it was a beautiful dinner, like hosted by Eden, like the family dinner. And it was beautiful because it was with a sharing circle. And like a few people in front of me started to share. They were sharing their name, and like they shared, and then it was my time, and like I was starting to talk, and I couldn't hold myself. I was like just so hurt and like so sad, and I was crying, and I told them, you know, just going through a really hard time at the moment. I feel ashamed to sit like this in front of you. I've never saw you, but I cannot pretend to be any other else. And this cracked the circle open, you know. From this moment, we really, everyone shared so deeply from the heart how they feel. And this was like this moment I realized, yeah, this is what we need. This is really what we need, right? This like real human to human conversations. And we all go through hard phases from time to time. And therefore, so like this hard breaks are beautiful because they break you open, right? They really allow yourself to like go so deep, because you cannot pretend anymore. And I think it's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful for this moment, because this was the moment I realized, yeah, this is what I want. Like this is what I want to see in the world. That I don't need to know your story, and you don't need to know my story, but we can feel that we are human on this planet together. And this is, it's everything, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the core of it, we both want the same things. You know, we want to be happy, we want to be well, we want to celebrate our next birthday and feel loved and be able to give love. And one thing I remember finding quite shocking about like this discovery of like or exploration into my aloneness, like the feeling of being lonely, you know, and thinking about there are times when I'm alone and I don't feel lonely. I feel so well and whole, and I just feel like, oh, it's so nice to have my time. There are times where I'm in a group of people and I feel the loneliest. In fact, it accentuates sometimes. And I was like, what is it then? Because loneliness then doesn't seem to be about people or around people. So I was like, well, what creates loneliness? And then on reflection and kind of digging a little bit deeper, I realized that there's like a direct correlation between loneliness and self-trust. If I don't trust myself, and I'm in the world and I feel kind of like a lost ship on the sea, then I feel very lonely. I feel very like, okay, I'm not sure, and kind of it's just me, and I'm going to be left. If I trust myself, I deeply trust myself, I never feel alone. I feel like there's a real like soundness inside of me. And trusting yourself comes from being unashamed, being like holding those parts of us that we so deeply want to hide by, you know, performing or looking good or being right. And uncovering our shame only happens in community. It only happens with people. Yeah. And so then being able to reveal that and you know, say, as we're circling back around again, saying the scary thing, and yeah, this is me, this is who I am. And then this is kind of like, okay, I'm with that, I trust that. It doesn't have to, my life is then not about me trying to cover up these parts of myself that I once thought when I was younger, weren't allowed or weren't okay or, aren't a part of this wonderful human experience.
Yeah, so big. Trusting yourself, big one, right? Like this allowance of, really listening and also trusting that you can hold it, what you will maybe hear when you're listening within, right? That's also big to trust yourself that you can hold it. Yeah, like big theme. The theme of feeling alone, even being with so many people, right?
Yeah.
And how can I exit this feeling of feeling connected to myself? And did you had like a moment where you were kind of cracking open and found this sense of belonging in you? Did you had like a major moment?
I mean, there's been plenty. There's been, and it's the process is always like fragmental. Parts of me coming home, bringing back those parts of me that I exiled, and it's non-linear. So it's sometimes I'm like, I have that cracking open and coming home, and then a week later I'm like, we're still here again. Like I thought I'd healed this, and it's like sometimes infuriating and saddening and disappointing, and it just kind of happens in that way. But I remember distinctly one training that I did with possibility management, and we were sat in this big room and we'd been going through this big process, and there's 40 people in this room, and it was chaotic. We'd been doing emotional work, so there's people screaming and shouting and just like bawling, and it's so intense, like the energy in the room. And I was sat there as they were guiding through this meditation of like healing trauma with our parents, and I was like emotionless, sat. I remember in my mind kind of looking for things that I should be traumatized about, or, like reasons to be upset. Couldn't find anything. Like I was thinking, my childhood's been like relatively positive, and my parents, they loved me and told me so and encouraged me to be myself. So I was like, I've got nothing to be upset about. And my eyes closed, the facilitator, Clinton Canahan, comes up to me and just whispers in my ear, and he says, are you just going to sit there and think about it, or are you going to let yourself feel? And I remember just hearing those words, and then he just said, your mind will not understand. And he walked off, and within about 3 seconds, boom.
Wow.
Bawled my eyes out. Just like, it was like my body was like just the other side, like, come on, man, like, let me feel this, let me. And I just cried and cried and cried and sobbed. And I still to this day don't really know what I was crying for, but it was a cry that had been held in me. Some little boy in me didn't get the love that he was longing for, felt misunderstood, missed his mum or his dad in a certain moment, and was just holding all of it. And that was like that real like homecoming of that little boy in me. Whatever happened, I'm not sure, but just letting him like kind of cry in my arms. And that was a huge moment and a really big moment in my journey and process, because especially I think for men, so much of what we're trying to do is with the rational mind, thinking, okay, well, this happened, and then I can control that, and I just need to change these things, or biohack my way out of this. At some point, you just have to feel it. Your mind is thinking because you're afraid of feeling. That's it. Right? Like, what is it? Your mind will basically repeat stuff until you go to the source of it in your body. And so, that was a huge homecoming for me, where I could belong back in my body again and have that sense of just like, okay, here I am, and there's sadness, and that's it.
Wow.
That's it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Like, I feel very touched by just, like, I could feel how you could feel it. And this is, I think, so big, the part of we don't have to understand, like, that there's, like, I have this part, a lot of me try to understand everything and try to figure it out, but to allow myself just to feel it, there is so much healing happening. And I deeply wish for everyone that everyone allows themselves to go in spaces, because it's really something kind of you have to learn if you haven't learned it from a young age. Like, it's kind of a relearning how to feel. Like, I had to learn it a lot. This is also what I do with my clients, right? To start to learn how to feel, how to really feel, not how to to get it in your mind, oh no, I'm sad. Like, yeah, but can you allow yourself to feel it, and that your body has so much wisdom in it, and to allow yourself to release it. And I think this is so important, the part of allowing ourselves to feel it, and also to feel that it's safe to feel it, and to be held in that, right? In this, in the feeling.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And that's it. Like, I think when we go into like, okay, why am I overthinking? Well, actually, there's something I'm trying to escape here, a fear, a narrative, and there's something in my body that felt like that, when I was growing up. And so, okay, can I go there? And a big part of that work is, the self-trust of my body is built to feel.
Yeah.
My body has this natural intelligence and will cry it out. And you look at children, they move, they shake, they sob, they tantrum, and then, okay, we're clean again.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of this is like becoming a child again, and learning to trust that whatever emotions are there are not going to overwhelm me. They're not going to be like too much for me, where now, I'm spending 2 weeks in a bed depressed because all of my sadness is there. And so there's like a kind of two parts to this, I think, is like, one is creating the capacity to hold those emotions and really being with them. And then the other one is then being able to feel that within that. And you need that capacity. Otherwise, sure enough, it's going to be overwhelming and you're going to implode on them.
Yeah.
But, learning like bit by bit. Okay, I felt my anger, still here.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm
Are you
cool.
fine?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
We're good. We can go again.
Yeah.
Deepening that way.
Yeah. And this is also like the way of meeting then again, like if I break it down again, like you do this work with yourself and in your men's group, like I do this work with myself and in my women's group. And like, it just, when I want to see the world, like what is driving me is really, and I just realized this just like in the summit, like I had with Bishop, with our woman, we went into this fear exercise. Like what do you really fear actually? And I could feel in my body, like the big fear of me is like that we are living in a world where like people come together and like they build families, and like unhealthy families, right? Because everyone is so still in their own thing, and they try to put it on the other person, like heal me, and like having all this expectation how to feel in this relationship, and then wonder I still feel like this because it's something I have to fix in myself. Like my partner cannot do this, and with this like building families, and children are growing up in families who are like, where a lot of bullshit is happening. And I mean, I am coming from a family where I love my parents. Like there was so much love, but there was also a lot of bullshit, like to be honest. And there is this, the fear is driving me to see, I want to see healthy families on this world, right? And therefore I feel like it's so important that we have like women who know their worth, who also like, who heal the traumatized, because there's so much trauma in us. Like, I mean, 7 generations, it's still in us. And I mean, when you look back at the generations before us, there were wars, there was so much suffering, what is in us, in our physical body, what is not even ours. And to really create spaces where we can heal these parts in us, and with that, like coming together and creating like beautiful families, because this is what I want to see in this world, like beautiful families. And therefore I also see that communities are so important, because like a family needs like a network of people. Like how is this the word or the saying, like you need a whole village to raise a child? And I totally see that. And therefore it's so powerful to really go into this emotional work, and to get to know yourself, and to create more spaces to feel, because it's not enough what is out there. I think we are so in our bubble, and we think there's so much already out there, but no, like as soon as I leave my bubble here and I go back to Germany and I tell people about emotional work, they're like, what? So I think it's so important to have these spaces, and with that, creating this, like the good soil. I always see it as a good soil for something very, very beautiful to grow up from that part. Yeah.
Totally. And something that I want to touch upon that I noticed there, and for people that are listening, because emotions is really new. Like it's like very like on the forefront of culture, where we're discovering what they are. And it's wild because they run the majority of our life. So we're like, why has no one done this before? And then, and what's interesting about what you said, right, is like, there's the part, of course, about emotional kind of completion and catharsis and letting go of old emotions and being able to release them. But there's this part of, well, what are emotions when they're used consciously and with integrity and awareness? And what you noticed from your fear was, I feel afraid that there aren't, family structures that, that are wonderful and that support humanity. And it was not necessarily like the nice feeling that we're all typically kind of going for, like the pleasure feeling. And I think that's kind of growing up from a girl or a boy to an adult, man or woman, is it's less about the pleasure and pain and more about the deeper feeling of like, this feels gritty and meaningful and this feels like important, and it can then take all kinds of flavors. And so tuning into what makes me angry, what makes me scared, what makes me joyful, what makes me sad, and using each of those as compasses as well, and learning like, damn, like, anger or fear isn't something to get rid of, it's not something to get over, it's something to put in the toolkit so that you can use it to really guide you in your life and find like a strength and direction. So yeah, just wanted to say that out loud because it's something that's like super new and I don't really see a lot. It's only in possibility management that we're learning about, like, wow, these guys, have utility. So what can they do for me, and what can they teach me, and what can they do for my life?
Yeah. It's an important point. A part of it's so new and it's so important. And I just feel like such a heartbreak when I think about like all the moments where, like for example, relationships broke because we were not able to hold ourselves and our own emotions, right? And this is also what drives me. Like I don't want to. I want to like see people who are able to hold themselves, and with this, this beautiful relationships can flourish because it's so, like we don't need more heartbreaks.
Yeah.
Even they are important, right? Like for everyone who goes through heartbreaks, they're important. And I think it's also very beautiful to be able to have a very, very beautiful, nourishing relationship with this like a family. And therefore, I'm so grateful for these tools I've learned like the last years and where we went with this together. And I think this is also what I'm very excited about, being able to talk with you, like just being an example of like talking to men about my emotions and being held by a man in my emotions is so healing, right? And I think also the other way around, and therefore it's so beautiful to have like a shared language, or to know how to feel my own emotions, so I can be here for you, to hold space for you feeling your emotions. And this is what excites me a lot, like this exchange with each other, because we are meant to also support each other as woman and man, right? We are different. We definitely are. I realize that we are, and that's beautiful. And at the deeper level, we are all humans with feelings, with going through things. And I think there is so much beauty behind feeling held by a man and feeling held by a woman in this, and with this, creating the next, whatever we want to call it.
And so on that, creating.
Yes.
What is it that we are creating?
Yeah. So we had like this conversation is kind of the typical conversation we have sitting together, right? Like this is the topic of who is driving us. And we want to create like exactly this kind of spaces, the spaces where we come together, like you with the man, me with the woman, learning how to feel, how to go through this, and then coming together as a community, right? To really build up like a strong, beautiful, heart opened in service, standing communities we start here in Portugal, right? Like in Lisbon, Ericeira, this region is where everything will start. And from there, I really see this movement going through the world, like this communities all over the world. And really creating this, what both of us desires. But yeah, we want to create and open up the community. We don't have a name yet, do we? Do we? No.
Not yet. Not yet. Not confirmed.
How would you put it in words? What do we do?
Yeah, it's exactly that. Like, it's for me, it's the space that we can share our hearts, open up, and really, get real with ourselves. Put the shit on the table, clear out those emotions, go through those processes, have a ton of fun with each other. Play and celebrate each other. And I think that's something I so cherish in you, and that it just lights me up. Is you're so good at celebrating me and reflecting back at who I am and my gold and my gift and my shine, and do that for one another, and say go and make that mess, and do the difficult thing, and let's have a barbecue, let's go skinny dipping, and just play with life, because sometimes it's just a little bit too much of work or the heavy stuff. So, just really a full spectrum celebration of the rich tapestry of life and all the colors in it.
I can't wait. So we said we want to have the first community meeting in August.
Yes.
Right? We don't have the date yet. We will figure it out, and we'll put all the informations down here in the link in the bio. And I feel very, very excited about it. And on top of the cherry, we have even something. It's not more or less, but it's fucking exciting. We will have our first own retreat. This year. Woo! We need both. So in October, we are coming together exactly with this mission. Do you want to give a little sneak peek?
Yeah, so it's going to be held in Ericeira, and it's really this beautifully tight container where we're going to get real, get deep, go into the parts of ourselves that we're holding back, and learn what it is that we want to bring to the world, what our shine is, who we really are beneath all of the stuff, the conditioning and the things that we learned we're not allowed to be. And then together unearth that with both men and women, and really to be able to allow people to do this, heal, shine, thrive, really show up, really feel like I love my life and I love what I do. It's important, it's meaningful to me, and to be able to show up for those and that we love.
Oof, I am so excited, and I think we really thrive together. So therefore, it's such a I can't wait for this retreat to really men, women come together. We do the deep stuff, but also the fun stuff, right? It's really it's everything, and I can't wait for this week here in Ericeira, and for all the souls of feeling the calling. Yes, this is actually the kind of culture I want to cultivate, the way of how I hold myself in my life, and with this also how I'm able to be there for others in the community we live in, right? And I want to create, and I want to see in my life. So I think it's very, very powerful. And for whoever who feels the calling to come, we will open the reservations, the waiting lists after opening up this episode, and you really don't want to miss it. I feel like it's really also what from us meeting the first time in January 2022 till now, it's kind of what we all learned, discovered, the experiments we made, the learnings life gave us, right? Is kind of going into this experience we want to create together for these human beings out there. And I'm very, very excited. And very grateful that we do this, because I see that this wouldn't have been possible 2 years ago. No.
Not even a year ago.
No,
maybe.
no, not even a year ago. No. And it needed all of it, right? All the moments, all the deep moments, all the scary moments, all the moments where you're on the ground and crying, I don't know how to make it out of this. All the moments were needed to be able to sit here and look into each other's eyes and be like, hey, dear friend, thank you for going your path, and therefore I can go my path. And something Flo said to me, and I really loved it so dearly. He looked at me after our ceremony, and he was like, I can trust you because I see you're doing the work. You go your way, and you go really deep, and this makes me trust you so much. And this is really what I admire about like the man in my life. When I look at all of you, how you hold yourself, how you go through all this, I'm like, yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see you going through the deep shit, the fun shit, like all of this, because it makes me like, I trust you. Yeah, so thank you that I can trust you. Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. So, Arunski, there is one question I have for everyone who is in van talk, and it's what, like, we drove with our vans through life, like there were like the mountains, there were like the down parts, like going through the oceans, and people come with us in our van and they leave again. Some are sitting there all the time. So, and then you sit there like here, like we're 90 years old with your cup of good English tea. And you're looking back on this journey of life, and I would love to hear, what do you want to see when you look back on your in your life, like when 90 years old? What do you want to see?
I want to see your face by my bedside, tickling me. Yeah, I want to see. Yeah, it's really just everything we've spoken about. I just want to see like a family, community, like the image is like this wholesome image of like a long table. Everyone's eating at it, you know, fairy lights around. I know that we've spoken about that image plenty of times, and just like this coming back to humanness, coming back to like the nature, and this, yeah, these spaces where we can reveal, over conceal our humanness and what's really true for us, and then encourage each other to step up into our adulthood, to be able to be of service and create these families and these networks and do this work and show up for humanity and really reclaim our power to be able to do that. And yeah, so it's just like deep, fun, playful, wholesome, bunch of little kids running around, chickens.
Chickens.
Dogs, yeah.
Dogs,
the whole lot.
Yeah, I feel it. Like it's already there, right? Everything you're looking for is looking at you. So I really see that. And when I hear that, I feel like so excited about everything what is coming, and like also so encouraged, because, you know, it matters. Like, I think sometimes it's easy to forget how important each and every one of us is, and how important it is, like these visions we have and the dreams and the changes we want to see in the world. And it really matters, and we can make like such a beautiful change together. And I see it. I see it, and I know it so deeply in my bones, and therefore I get up every day, and therefore I will share myself with everything I am, with everything I have to share in this moment. Sometimes it's the joyful, sometimes it's the scared, and it gives me a lot of hope for this world, because I see this world is kind of craving for this. I get emotional, like for this motherly energy, you know, like this. Hey, let's come back home. Let's come back home. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me on, having this beautiful conversation. I feel very inspired and grounded in what's important and the vision.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing what you're doing and making this happen. Like, it starts with a conversation and ends with a village. So, thank you for doing your work, showing up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, for sharing yourself and for giving your voice here into this vessel of Van Talk, and for inspiring other people to being. So, this is it. Is there like one last word you want to say, or if not, we just make a trip?
It's all been said, but follow your fear, go first.
Yeah.
Just take that jump and see what life has in store for you.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. And we heal in community. We heal in community. So you're not alone in this. Like, yes, open you up and share. Yeah. So that's so important. All right. And with this is it. This is the first Van Talk as, in the combination with the two of us. Thank you so much for coming over and finding gold. Let's go and eat.
Yes. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
Hey, good shit. Hey.